Right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Very happy to be here, and thanks Automotive Logistics to give a podium to young companies like us. I've been listening with a lot of fascination in previous events, and also to the conversations yesterday on stage, and even the last one. So hopefully, indeed, using some words of Chris, right, I can excite you with some of the solutions we have been building over the last 2 to 3 years. So what we have seen in the industry, not only in automotive logistics, but we are focusing on auto or finished vehicle logistics, is a lack of traceability. And I purposely say traceability. In my career, I would say already 20 years ago, I had visibility, I had geofencing, I knew where my shipments were. But the problem is, if you can't action them, if you can't take control, right, in one single solution, still using spreadsheets and everything else, then it's still very, very inefficient. So what we built a distributed ledger where we are connecting pretty much all the systems in a value chain, all the nodes, all the systems and what have you. And by developing the distributed ledger, we are using private blockchain technology. This is where we have been partnering with IBM. We are a neutral technology company. We have our own IP, but still partnering with the experience of IBM. And the impact is, and we have been talking about this for the last few sessions, is you can really do real-time sharing of information, of data, of documents, even pictures in case of damage and claims, which you have embedded in the meantime. And by doing so, all the parties which are connected in that distributed ledger and in that blockchain are benefiting from these kind of efficiencies. So the result is, right, of course, there has to be a value, you mentioned it. So we have seen, after we have done now the first implementations, a significant saving based on cost efficiencies and working capital reduction, somewhere in the single to double-digit dollars per vehicle. Very interesting also, again, yesterday talking about forecasting. What we have seen from companies in the industry, they're using these kind of tools as we offer more and more as an alternative for forecasting as well, because now you have better data, better visibility, and you can action them. Also very important in the world of today is security of data. So security is not only private security, which was referred to also in the previous session, but also in the world of today with malware, with hackers, etc. But one of the positive advantages of private blockchain technology is that every update, every status update, every document you share, every picture you share is immutable. It's encrypted, it goes into an encrypted database, so fully secure right in the way you share it. So why are we different? So you can see here, right, there's many of the visibility platforms. I talk from experience working for one of them. And the nature of blockchain is that you operate in a decentralized operation. So that means that all your trading partners, they own their own data, but they share the data right on behalf of, I use an example here as an OEM, but it can also be an LSP. It can be one of the broker firms, right? It can be a fleet owner. In this case, the OEM decides which trading partners in a distributed ledger are sharing information with whom. In a very controlled way. They control the data, they own the data. We don't own the data. We have, again, the data is encrypted. We may have a spare key in case of emergency, but other than that, they control, they own the data. And that's a crucial element in private blockchain. Also important here is that that's again in a decentralized way. You can share the information, right? You are the conductor of the orchestra. You decide which parties in a blockchain can share what information. So it's very efficient, right? Even if you do exception management, you don't have to go outside, right, using spreadsheets or emails or what have you. You have one source of the truth, which was just mentioned, right, in one operation, and that's where you share and can handle all that operation. So how does it look like? So again, using the example of an OEM, we connect, as you can see here, right, all entities, right, all countries. We have dealers, fleet owners, terminals, port terminals, compounds, camera systems, right? You have these booths these days, like Digold, right, where we can connect to the camera system there. All the LSPs, subcontractors if needed, RoRo companies, you name it, right? We already have a number of them connected. Customs brokers, very important, we deal with as well. And that is very important here, and that is part of the interoperability these days, what is required. We connect pretty much to any system you have, self-built system, legacy system, it can be TMS, can be ERP, can be CRM. We connect to those, creating one source of the truth and one source of data, which you then can improve. Based on the success we have had so far on finished vehicles, we also have the first use cases now on a component level, because what we can do on VIN level, we can also do on container level, parcel level, airway level. So we are also using the first level now on components coming to factory, and then of course in the finished vehicle coming to the market. Since we are experts in the automotive industry, we have embedded the claims and damage in there as well. In the traditional supply chain, the last party in the chain is always liable because they can't prove where it happened. In our case, because again, it's immutable data, at every transfer of a vehicle or another shipment in the supply chain, there is a timestamp, there is a longitude, a latitude, so there is no disputes anymore where a particular damage or loss happened. We talked a lot about standardization. We have adopted a lot of standardization. Standardization is key. And very important, especially in the new vehicles where there's a logistics mode, we can also connect to IoT and telemetry. So on an even wider perspective, and that is another advantage of private blockchain, in principle, every OEM or every LSP, they connect to the same parties, and they do it over and over again. Yesterday we talked about EDI. Yes, we can connect with EDI, but in principle we use APIs or REST APIs. And also a part of our business, we connect every party just once. And if they are connected for everybody. So we can do it faster, cheaper, better, right? And this is how we collaborate a lot with IT departments in, again, the OEMs, LSPs, and what have you. So I know we have, actually the timing was there. So at 4 minutes, I hope I could excite you. Maybe in future I can share some use cases since we are now really getting into implementation, but thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I think I've gone. Oh, there we are. Thanks. I had to kill a hot mic before. Ron, thanks so much for that. That's blockchain in action. It's something we've obviously heard about a lot over the last couple of years, so really exciting to see it coming to fruition. We want to do a quick question round. I want to give it to the audience first if there's any questions for Ron, otherwise I can kick it off. Anybody have any question on the Ventura solution? Okay, I have a quick one. Oh, sorry, I missed it. Yeah, question right there. Put your hand up or stand up. We have a mic on the way to you. Just say your name and company as well. Thanks.
Name is Frank Agrusa with ICL. So you mentioned standardization, one source of the truth and such. How do you even define the events similarly amongst all these different sources to mean the same thing, let alone, if the truth between events isn't even defined, how do you deal with that, especially with finished vehicles?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So how it starts for us, right? We are not TMS. We're not so much a visibility provider. So the journey of the vehicle, in our case, starts when we get the information from, if you use an LSP or an OEM as an example, when we get a dispatch order or when we get their transportation order. From that moment on, right, but connecting all parties, that's the moment, right, where we create the visibility, if you will, right, the traceability of that vehicle end to end.
Okay, quick question for me. With blockchain, it almost seems, I mean, it creates a seamless connectivity, but you have to have everything connected for it really to work, it seems. So is that a challenge in the upfront to make sure that everyone buys in, connects, so that you can provide that real end-to-end?
Not necessarily, because again, we are targeting mostly, right, the big OEMs and the LSPs on their behalf, so that's where it starts with that interface, and of course they dictate their trading partners to become connected. And we do it normally in a very agile way, right? We start with, let's say, the basic nodes, the basic connectivity, and then we make it more and more dense down the line. Yeah, but it's especially because it benefits all parties involved. Even trading partners, they can reduce waiting hours, they will start running more efficient, they get paid more on time. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits in that respect. Okay.
Any other questions from the audience? If not, the last one from me, what's the next step in development here for you? I mean, are you in beta mode with certain OEMs? What's the next step?
Yeah, so we have, first of all, developed our base product, which is, again, the connectivity, the traceability, and what have you. We are now actually implementing a first client because we have modular solutions. So we already go for eCMR, which is an electronic label in Europe. We are working on a nano-module for freight, audit, and pay. There's other industries which are knocking on the door. So yeah, this is only the beginning. And then there is some other exciting stuff when you come, again, we talk about ecosystem. We are now working on a solution where we potentially can even have a complete traceability of components, not only to factory, but even embedded in a vehicle. So this is also work in progress, which we are working on.
Okay, exciting. So Ron will be here. I hope afterwards, those interested in more, connect with Ron out with a booth and an event here. But thank you very much, Ron, for sharing that innovation with us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna for our next innovation, we're gonna turn to the packaging side. We had a great session yesterday talking about sustainable materials in packaging, but we know that planning and implementing returnable packaging is complicated, it takes time, and we've got a great solution to discuss here from Camille Corr Chism, who is the owner and leader of Truefleet. She's had more than 30-year career. I can barely believe that, Camille. You must have started when you were 5 in automotive packaging, including at Tier 1. OEMs like Johnson Controls, FCA, and others. Camille, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Whoops. Good start. There you go. Make it easy.
Good morning, everyone. My name again is Camille Corr Chism, and I'm here to talk about Truefleet, a packaging tool. Okay, I'm here. Okay, so better decisions for a better bottom line. This came out of being a packaging engineer and understanding that packaging gets forgotten. So people will know how many containers need to go on a truck, how many containers need to be on the floor, but they don't necessarily know how many they started with. So some of the benefits of Truefleet, you can use this tool to get accurate budgeting and records from the start. So at the beginning of a program launch, you can look at what is needed, you can compare returnable versus expendable, do the ROI, play with the numbers. A lot of times packaging engineers will get a director that might call them and say, hey, I want to know what if we amortize this packaging over a 5-year period versus a 3-year period. And instead of having to wait a day or weeks to get this done, they can get it done in minutes, right on the fly. It can help them to save up to $250,000, $250,000 per launch, and they have more accurate records to start with. So again, part of the issue is people don't know how many packages they started off with. So at the end of the program, they don't know what was amortized, they don't know what should be obsoleted, they have no idea what the book should look like. Another advantage is transparency. We all know with packaging, returnable packaging, that there is an issue with theft, shrinkage, disappearance, mix-ups, whatever. And this helps people to know from the beginning what they started with. So that's half the battle, knowing what you started with, getting the packaging right from the beginning and knowing what you have. As you start having shrinkage, you can really see what your shrinkage is as you go through a program. And then the third thing is to drive automotive standards. So packaging, again, gets neglected, but by having standards for packaging, you can standardize what's going on the trucks, what's going on the floor. And you can really see, and it's much easier to know what you're doing from the beginning. So at this point, you're probably asking, how does this work? Packaging, who really cares? But the people that deal with packaging, they know what this is. We commiserate about this all the time. So first, it's a pretty simple app. So again, Truefleet is truly a startup. So right now, there's an app. You input your data. At the beginning of the pack launch, you can go through and make those changes on the fly, or as you develop more information through the program, you can go back and input data and revise your information. This would be an example of what it looks like. You can literally put in things like the city, and it will calculate your mileage, which will help you get better system days, which helps you calculate what the fleet of packaging or the amount of packaging should be. And then you calculate and compare. Again, I mentioned this is usually where the negotiation goes on early on in the program. People don't always know what the budget should be. So sometimes the program team will put in a budget, and everyone knows packaging doesn't get purchased till right before launch. So a lot of times that money gets eaten up. Because they didn't know from the beginning how many they needed, it's much easier to eat it up. So with something like this, people know how much money is reserved for how much packaging, and it's justified. Here's an example. Like I said, you put in the information in this app. It's pretty straightforward. And then the magic happens. Once you have your information, you can email the summary to yourself or to whoever you want it to go to keep track of it. And if you want to learn how to set an accurate packaging budget for your capital expenditures early on and through your program, ask for a demo. We're doing demos right now. Again, we're truly a startup. We've got the app. We are building out. We have beta testers as well. So just let me know.
Yeah, just leave it there. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Camille. So as you said, a true startup, right in beta mode, but a great innovation. Let's go for a couple of questions. Just maybe a quick one for me. How the I understand the user inputs their data, but what is calculated based on? Is that based on aggregates of programs that you've worked with or your experience? How have you built up that data set?
Sure. So I have been in packaging for 30 years. I have about 15 of those in automotive, moved to automotive, fell in love with it. Throughout the process of launching packaging for new vehicles, it just kind of started putting together information. There are standards for putting together fleet sizes, but that has to be tweaked by the company. Also, what the peaks are, the distances. There's a lot of information that goes into it. So it's just been a morphing over time and adding information, learning about how automotive works.
And what can be inputted right now is largely from standard-based packaging, or can it also calculate based on various kinds of bespoke equipment that might also get used, or is that kind of as the process develops?
You can put in non-standards. One of the goals is to get to as much standardized packaging as possible in automotive because it makes things so much easier for the entire value stream. So you can put information in that's not standard, but you can easily pick standards that are in there and move forward.
Certainly you mentioned that it would help drive standards. So do you think it will help that by making really clear what those budgets are and opportunities, and that would drive the user to standardize more?
Yes. So I can give an example. I also do some consulting, and there's this company, they're starting off with smaller volumes, and they have a box size that does not meet any automotive standard. So it doesn't fit on an automotive standard pallet. Right now they're shipping everything FedEx, but when their volumes grow, they're going to have to redo all of their packaging to meet those standards. So they're on pallets, they fit on trucks, they get the best freight prices. So that's why it's important to drive
Absolutely. Any questions? Anyone in the audience want to ask a question? So if not a last one from me, Camille, just tell us the next steps. You mentioned you have some beta modes and things like that. Tell us about what the next steps are for Truefleet.
So the next steps would be to have this turn into software that can be used to calculate the data, move the data through for the entire launch, and then it can tie into other functions such as manufacturing, supply chain, logistics. So it's a tool that everyone can use. So right now the targets are really tier 1s and tier 2s. Companies that don't have a packaging function or person. So maybe the purchasing people are going through and trying to calculate this information early on, or the program manager is trying to do it. This gives them a tool to really focus on their primary job, but to have standards for the packaging, and they know it's accurate.
Well, we know just how much cost and time packaging can result to, so this is a great innovation, a great insight into how that can be improved, particularly at certain tier 1, tier 2s right now. Camille, really glad you could share this with us. Camille is here out in the exhibition area as well, so if you want to meet and find out more, please get in touch, and obviously we'll share that information. And I should have mentioned early on, the slides are available from both of our both of our startups. So that's if you go into the app and click on the session, you can download those slides and get right in touch. Thanks so much, Camille.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you,
Automotive.
Yeah, please, pleasure.